everyone, my name is Gabby and today I'm going to be bringing you a Broadway discussion video. I've been planning this out on my channel for a few months now, and I know that my channel is a booktube channel and dedicated to discussing YA novels, but the Broadway and theater community is one that is very close to my heart, so if I can use the platform that I have to start discussion and be able to talk about relevant issues in the Broadway community, I want to be able to do that because I think that in order for these issues to get solved, the discussion needs to be started, and the more that people have conversations, the more likely that these issues will get fixed, and I want to be a part of that. So I've been noticing that there's been some etiquette issues going on in the Broadway community where people are attending Broadway shows and they just aren't behaving respectfully, and it's ruining other people's experiences. So I want to talk about some of those things and bring some of those issues to light and make you guys aware of some of the things that are happening and the really easy ways that you can allow yourself and other people attending the theater to have a good experience and to have a memorable experience. So just some things to keep in mind before we dive into this video. Number one, you do not have to be a Broadway goer to watch this. My hope is that at least at some point in your life, every single person will get to see at least one Broadway show, and that when you go, you'll have a good idea of the etiquette and the mindset to follow and the rules to follow, so that not only can you have a good experience, but other people around you can have a good experience. So I hope that you watch this video and that you get something out of it and that you're able to learn a bit more about the Broadway community because of it. Number two, I ask that all comments be respectful, and I do not want any negativity in the comment section of this video. Pretty much, I understand that there are going to be people who have a difference of opinions from me, and that's totally fine. And if you want to have a discussion, that's great, but I don't want anything that's negative or harmful or hurtful to anyone, because the Broadway and theater community is not about that. It's an incredibly warm and welcoming community to everyone, and so I want this video to have that same sort of vibe as well. So if you want to have a discussion, great, but anything that I see as negative or harmful or hurtful to somebody will be reported and deleted. And then number three, I just ask you to keep an open mind and to think about what I'm saying and maybe spread the word and let other people know about this video and about some of the issues and things going on, because the more people that know and the more that this spreads, the more likely that conversations will be started and that these issues will be dealt with. So I'm really excited to dive in and talk about some of the etiquette issues within the Broadway community, and I really hope that you guys keep these things in mind the next time that you go and see a Broadway show. So what I'm going to do is pretty much start in order of the process of going and seeing a Broadway show and some of the issues and mishaps that can occur throughout the process. So number one, the first issue that I've noticed in the Broadway community that's relatively prevalent is bootlegs. So for those of you that are unfamiliar with the term, a bootleg is pretty much an illegal recording of a Broadway show. So how this would work is that someone goes and buys a ticket to a Broadway show, and they go into the theater and then they record the performance on their electronic device, whether it be an iPhone, a camera, or any other recording device, and then they upload it to a streaming platform. That could be YouTube or a specific website that's dedicated to bootlegs. There's plenty of them out there, and then people go and watch those videos, and sometimes they have to pay for bootlegs or pay for a subscription to a website where they can watch unlimited bootlegs, and so people are pretty much making money off of Broadway shows. So there's several things about this that just really irritate me. I am an anti-bootleg person, but there are plenty of people in the Broadway community that are pro-bootleg, which I just don't understand, because there's so many things that I think about bootlegs that just sort of contradict any positive things that I would see out of them at all. First things first, bootlegs are illegal. It's something that a lot of people don't really think about when they go in to record a bootleg or when they watch a bootleg, because there's so many of them out there that they've started to become a norm on Broadway. Pretty much you're taking somebody else's work and putting it into your own hands and choosing what happens with it. And there are copyrights, and that work does not belong to you, so you don't get to record it and get to upload it online. That's not your decision. That's only at the decision of the creators and the team behind the Broadway musical. There are repercussions that you could face for this bootleg that you decide to put up online if the creators find it and decide that they want to press charges. Number one, your electronic device could be taken away if you're caught recording the show while you're in the theater, and it's something that I could not imagine that anyone would want to face, because we have everything on our electronic devices. We have pictures and apps and contacts and music and etc. There's so many things that we have on our phones, and it's like our entire life, that to even deal with the repercussion of possibly having to have it taken away is something that I wouldn't want to have to worry about. You also could get possibly banned from the theater, because obviously if you're recording bootlegs, it's likely that this isn't the first time that you've done it before, so you could be banned from the theater, and that wasn't something that I would want to happen either. And if the Broadway show and the people behind it decide that they want to, they could press charges, they could end up suing you, you could have to face fines. There's multiple repercussions that you could face. I try to find some stuff online, but really a lot of the people that end up uploading bootlegs really never have to face any repercussions because it's something that's not really talked about a lot. And so I want to start that conversation and talk to people about bootlegs and why they're negative and some of the big issues behind them, because so many people have started to accept it as a cultural norm. And it's nice to see that there are some Broadway shows that are finally starting to sort of turn against that and are starting to speak out about bootlegs and trying to do something about it. So one of my favorite Broadway shows at the moment, Dear Evan Hansen, has started to put a flyer into their playbills that pretty much asks people to turn off their cameras, turn off their phones and electronic devices, and mention how bootlegs are illegal and how they're disrespectful. And I think that it's a really great way to be able to stop those type of issues from happening, because think about it, the Broadway shows that are most popular are the ones that tend to get the most bootlegs because they're the shows that are most in demand, because people aren't able to go and see those shows because they're so expensive because of their popularity. So it's great that a really popular Broadway show is starting to push back against bootlegs and is putting that out there. Every single person who attends a show will get one of those flyers in their playbill, and I will put pictures here of what they look like, and I will leave the Twitter user down below who posted these photos, and I will put their username in the picture so that I can give them proper credit. But I was so glad when I saw that Dear Evan Hansen was doing this, because the more popular Broadway shows, when they start this sort of movement, it's likely that other Broadway shows will follow, and it's really nice to see that a show that I love so much is doing something about this issue. So one of the biggest things about bootlegs that comes to mind when I just think about why I don't like them or a lot of my issue behind them is the fact that they're really disrespectful. You're stealing someone else's work and putting it into your own hands, and that is illegal, and that is copyright infringement, and that's disrespectful to all of the creators and the cast and the crew who put so much time and effort into the show for you to just go and record it and take their work. And I just don't understand why someone would want to do that and why someone would feel the need to steal someone else's work just to go and upload it online. I don't understand the benefit that people get out of that. It's also incredibly distracting, not only to the other people who are sitting around you that have to watch you recording the show, but to the performers, because imagine that you're on stage and then you just see this red blinking light of someone recording your performance. That can completely entirely throw a performer off kilter, and that can just be incredibly distracting to them, and it can also just be really harmful and hurtful to them, because they're taking all of this time out of their week, doing 8 shows a week, putting all of this work and effort into the performance just to have it recorded and go and put up online. And a lot of Broadway performers are probably aware that this is going to happen, but it's still incredibly disrespectful to them nonetheless, as well as all of the crew members and the ensemble members and people behind the scenes that put this show together and that make everything happen, because you're taking their work and you're putting it into your own hands. A Broadway show is meant to be on stage, and it should stay that way. So it's incredibly disrespectful to take someone else's work, and incredibly distracting to the performers on stage and to the people in the audience to do something like that. So then the third thing that sort of comes to mind with bootlegs that I just don't understand, and it's a logic thing. So think about the process of having to record a bootleg. Number one, you have to buy a ticket to go and see the show, because you can't record a bootleg unless you're in the theater where the show happens. So you have to pay a lot of money to go and see that show, because Broadway tickets tend to be relatively expensive. And like I said before, the bootlegs that tend to be made more often are for the popular Broadway shows, and their tickets end up costing more money. So you're having to pay more amount of money to get those more in-demand bootlegs for popular Broadway shows. So you're spending all this money to get a ticket for the show just to go and record it. And for me, I'm the type of person where if I'm recording something on my phone or I'm recording something on my camera, I have to hold it the entire time and be looking at the screen when I'm recording. Because if I just manage to hold my phone or hold my camera and be looking at what I'm recording and not at the screen, my arms will move and they will shift and it won't look pretty, and I'll get a wrong angle, or I'll want to move the camera to get a better angle if something changes. It's just a lot of work. So you're having to spend all this money just to watch the show through your electronic device. I don't understand what the point of that is, because there are so many people that want to go and see these Broadway shows, and there are bootleggers that are taking their tickets, and because of that, there are people that actively want to see the show and want to pay the money and are going to behave respectfully that are not able to get tickets. And it's such a shame, because these people keep getting into shows and keep making bootlegs, and it's something that keeps happening. There really isn't a lot of people that are actively standing up against it, because there's a lot of people that are theater goers that support bootlegs, and that's something that I don't understand either, because so many people in the theater community that are performers or are playwriters or are lyricists are so adamantly against bootlegs and everything that they stand for. So why would you, someone who's a Broadway goer and a Broadway supporter, want to go up against all of the creators and the people that make the shows that you love so much? And another thing is that I understand the whole agreement that people watch bootlegs because they don't have the money to go and see Broadway shows or they're not in the area. But my suggestion would be, if you really want to see a Broadway show, listen to the cast recording, watch interviews on YouTube, really get into the fandom, but just don't do anything illegal, because if you really want to see the show badly enough, you will get to. I've gotten to see Hamilton and Dear Evan Hansen, which are two very, very popular Broadway shows, and I did it because I found the right opportunity. And at the times when I couldn't see the shows, I was watching interviews, I was listening to the Broadway cast recording over and over and over again. I was following all of the cast members on their Twitter accounts and following all of their updates. There's plenty of things that you can do to feel in the loop. Tumblr also is a really great community to be a part of if you are a Broadway fan, because a lot of people talk about the shows and it's a great way to feel in the loop, and it's a really great community there. So there's plenty of things that you can do to still get all the enjoyment out of a Broadway show and not have to do something illegal to watch it. So I just think that there's way too many negatives against bootlegs, that there's so many other easier things that you can do to enjoy a show than watching an illegal bootleg. The fact that there are repercussions for what you're doing and that it's disrespectful and that it's just illogical, all that seems to add up to me that there's plenty other things that you can do to still get enjoyment out of a Broadway show that aren't illegal. So my stance on this is that I'm not for bootlegs. I think that they're incredibly disrespectful, and I hope that they'll eventually stop, and I'm really happy that there are Broadway shows like Dear Evan Hansen that are taking a stand against them and are putting that issue out there, and that there are ushers that are starting to find people and starting to stop this, because that's my big thing, is that I think really in order to stop bootlegs, you need to have ushers who are actively patrolling the aisles and actively watching for this, because I feel like it would be relatively easy to catch someone recording a bootleg because you're gonna have to keep it at least somewhat in the open. So I hope that Broadway shows are putting their ushers out there, making them do their job and helping them catch these people and banning them from the theater, so those of us that really want to go and get tickets are able to, and bootleggers can't keep buying tickets and doing this type of illegal behavior. So this next thing that I want to discuss is sort of on the same vibe, and it's using electronics during the performance. So this is also illegal because at every single Broadway show that you go to, every single one, I don't care what show it is, if it's on Broadway in New York City or if it's a Broadway show in a different state and it's a touring cast, if it's a play, if it's a musical, doesn't matter. You will hear every single Broadway show or before the show starts to silence all of your electronic devices, and that means shut them off and enjoy the show. It's as simple as that, and people just don't do that, and so when they leave their phones on, it's incredibly disrespectful. There are people that call and text during shows, and not only is it incredibly distracting to the audience members who are having to sit around you and listen to your conversation and watch you text and see the bright light of your phone, it's also incredibly distracting to all of the performers. And I've seen several Broadway members tweet about how when they were doing a performance that they saw someone texting or saw someone on their phone during one of their numbers, and that's distracting to them because they're going and performing the show and doing all this work 8 times a week for you to just be on your phone. That's incredibly illogical and incredibly disrespectful, and I just don't understand why you would pay all this money for a ticket if you're just gonna go and be on your phone. If you need to be on your phone and you have an emergency phone call that you need to make, or there's something that you need to do, step out of the theater and allow everyone else to enjoy the performance instead of spending all that time on your phone. I think the biggest issue is that in today's society, we're all glued to our technology and to our phones and to our electronic devices, that we can't just take 3 hours away to shut down and to enjoy a Broadway show. And that's the great thing about Broadway, is it allows you an escape and allows you just a few hours to be able to enjoy a new world and enjoy a new perspective. And it's such a wonderful community to be a part of, but there's so many people that cannot handle that sort of separation. And if you're one of those people, then don't go to a Broadway show and don't ruin it for everyone else. So I wanted to keep this relatively brief because a lot of my thoughts about this are pretty much the same as bootlegs. But when it comes to electronic devices, pretty much what I ask is just that you shut them off completely and you enjoy the performance instead of having to record an illegal bootleg of the show or having to be on your phone or electronic device like texting or calling or on social media. Just take a break and enjoy the show and enjoy the money that you spent for that ticket. If you paid all that money to see the show, enjoy it and get the most out of it, because these performers are putting hard work into their performances 8 times a week, and the least that you can do is be incredibly respectful to them and watch their performance instead of being immersed in your technology. So next thing that I want to discuss is stage dooring. So stage dooring dooring can be a really great thing. That's something that's relatively recent in the Broadway community, where pretty much after the performances, cast members come out of the stage door and they sign playbills for fans who wait there. And it's a really great thing to be a part of because so many of the cast members are so sweet and so wonderful. I got to stage door for both Hamilton and Dear Evan Hansen and meet some of the cast members from the show, and it's such a wonderful experience if people behave respectfully. But I've heard so many times about people ruining that experience just because of their unruly behavior. The first thing that I've heard about is mobbing, and pretty much when a performer comes out, a whole bunch of people start to cram and start to shove people, and it just becomes this huge mass of people. And you have to imagine what that's like from the performer's point of view, that they're watching all these people coming at them, throwing playbills at them, and just being unruly. And I can't imagine how anxiety-inducing that would be. And so I think that if you can just behave respectfully, and if you can just wait in a line and just be chill, wait for the performer to come over to you, then you're gonna have a better experience. And if you're in the back, you're in the back. Somebody else got there first. There isn't anything that you can do about that, and there's no point in pushing and shoving because it isn't gonna get you anywhere. So just wait in line like everybody else and just enjoy the experience, because you're getting to meet the cast member, you're getting to have them sign your playbill, maybe you're in the back, it doesn't matter, just be thankful that you're getting to be able to have that experience. So this is a big thing with stage dooring that I've noticed, which is that a lot of people complain when a certain cast member does not come out to the stage door. Here's the thing. You are not entitled to any stage dooring experience at all whatsoever. When you buy a ticket to a show, you buy a ticket to a show. You don't get to have an entire full access stage door experience. So if a cast member comes out, that's great, but if they don't, you don't get to be unruly and get to scream and yell at them on social media and treat them incredibly disrespectfully. I've noticed that this has happened a lot with Dear Evan Hansen, and the reason why I keep bringing that show up is because it's the most recent Broadway show that I've seen, and it's the one that has the most issues because it is so popular, and it's the one fandom that I'm most in tune with compared to other Broadway shows. But Ben Platt has completely and entirely blown up because of the show. So people want him to come out to the stage, or they want to be able to meet him. Completely and entirely natural. But let's say he doesn't come out because he's on vocal rest, or he's not feeling well, or he has a prior obligation. There are people that will flip out on social media and will completely and entirely go ballistic on him. And I just don't understand that at all, because you're not entitled to meet him. You have to be understanding of the fact that these people are doing 8 shows a week and they're putting their blood, sweat, and tears into their performances. So if they don't want to come out to the stage door, they don't have to. And the thing that completely entirely appalled me the most is that the one instance that I heard about was a mother screaming at Ben Platt that he didn't come out to the stage door because her daughters were upset. Like, you as a mother are supposed to be able to teach your children these things, and you're not setting a very good example by blowing up at a star on social media. I just don't understand that, and I think it's incredibly rude and incredibly disrespectful. And I think that we should treat the performers with more respect and be appreciative that we at least got to see the show. I went stage doored for Dear Evan Hansen, and Ben Platt did not come out. And I was totally fine with not meeting him because he needed his rest, and I can't even imagine, you know, what it's like to stage door, because I know that it can get really mobbed and really crazy, and there are situations and things that have happened there. I was entirely okay with that, and I was very glad that he decided not to come out because I knew how mobbed and things that the Dear Evan Hansen stage door can get. So just be respectful of all the performers that come out to the stage door. Don't push, don't shove. Treat them like normal everyday human beings because they are one, and treat the other people around you that are stage dooring like human beings. Don't be rude to them, and don't try to get yourself to the front of the line, because whatever experience you have, you're going to have, and you should be grateful that you're able to get to do those sorts of things, because a lot of people don't get those experiences. So just chill out at the stage door a little bit and don't feel entitled to an experience that you are not entitled to. It's as simple as that. If you stage door and you have a good experience, great, but don't ruin it with everyone else because of your unruly behavior, and don't go and attack the stars on social media because you feel entitled to a stage door experience, because it's just rude and it's immature. So the fourth and final thing that I want to discuss is just overall disrespect to understudy swings or smaller cast members. So there are so many people that will be completely and entirely upset and angry that a main cast member calls out of a show. And again, you are not entitled to see an entire original Broadway cast or to see a specific cast member. If somebody calls out, it's probably for a logical reason. reason. Like maybe they have a prior obligation, or maybe they're sick, or maybe they have an emergency. They're not going to call out just to call out because they don't feel like performing. There's going to be some reason why they decide to call out. So if you're seeing an understudy, they're going to be just as good as the original cast member, because guess what? They have to work harder and they're doing a more difficult job because they never know when they're going to be on stage, and it could be something that's incredibly last minute. So they're doing a very difficult job, and they're also trying to please an audience of people that may not traditionally want to see them because they're an understudy. There's this whole entire culture that people just don't appreciate understudies, and understudies are so phenomenal because they're having to go on stage and they're having to please an entire crowd of people at very short notice. And for me, I got to see one understudy while I was in Hamilton in Chicago. I got to see Jin-ha, who has since left the production, as KG3, and that was the absolute coolest experience because I loved seeing him as King George III. I think that his interpretation was amazing and I absolutely loved him. And there are some people that have gotten to see him, but I got to see somebody who most people wouldn't get to see as King George III, and I think that that's really cool that I had that experience, and it's something that I'm incredibly grateful for because yes, maybe I didn't get to see the lead cast member for King George III in the Chicago production of Hamilton, but I got to see somebody completely different, and I really enjoyed their performance because they're having to put all of their work and effort into it because they don't know when they're going to go on. They're having to do something last minute, so they want to please the audience that they're going to have to perform for. And the big thing is that every single cast member is just a part of the show as an original cast member, and I don't understand why anybody would treat a performer with disrespect because they were casted for a reason. There's a reason they were put into production. They wouldn't cast somebody who isn't going to be good in the part or isn't going to be a good understudy or a good swing. They cast people who know what they're doing and know how to play the part well. So whoever you get to see, be appreciative that you're at least seeing the show and that you get to see somebody different, you get to see a new take that a lot of people don't get to see. One of my favorite cast members, Will Rowland, I feel like is so underappreciated, and there was something that happened that I really don't entirely know the details of. There was pretty much a group of kids that were brought backstage to meet some of the cast members, and they wanted to meet Ben, and he had left, and so Will apologized, but then they like blew up at Will, and I really don't know the full entire details behind the story, but that just really upset me because Will is just as a part of the production as anybody else, and I would hate for someone to blow up at him just because he's not Ben Platt. He's an incredibly fantastic performer, and I loved every single minute that he was on stage when I got to see him in Dear Evan Hansen, and it just makes me upset that people blow up at the smaller performers because they're not the lead. Like, that's not their fault, and they're still performing the show, and they're still doing just as much work as anybody else in the production. So just treat them with respect because they're human beings and they deserve that, and they're putting on the show for you and putting a whole bunch of effort into it to make sure that they do their best. So the least that you can do is just treat them respectfully. It's as simple as that. And ultimately, it's pointless to complain because the original cast member isn't going to suddenly come back because one person complains that they don't want to see an understudy. So your complaining doesn't accomplish anything. It's only hurtful to the cast member who is putting all of their work and effort into the production, and it's extremely childish and immature. Enjoy the show that you're seeing and enjoy the fact that you even get to experience that Broadway show, which a lot of people don't get to experience. It's literally that simple, and I think that if more people just learn to treat others with respect in the community and learned to just be able to enjoy the experience that they're having getting to see a Broadway show, so much more people would have a better experience and enjoy the entire show and enjoy the atmosphere and everything around them. So that pretty much wraps it up for this Broadway discussion video. I had a lot of fun discussing these things, and I think that there are a lot of really important topics to be aware of. It's relatively simple to just behave when you're seeing a Broadway show. All you have to do is just shut off your phone and treat everyone respectfully. That includes the cast members, the people behind the scenes, the producers, and everyone who put the show together, and the creative team, as well as the other audience members around you that are seeing the show. I really hope that you guys got something out of this and that you're able to take something away from it, and that when you go and see a Broadway show or the next time you're thinking about seeing a Broadway show, that you keep these things in mind so that you can have a good experience and allow other people around you to have a good experience. So of course, leave any comments down below, any of your thoughts or your opinions. I definitely want to have a discussion, but please keep it positive. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time with a new video. Goodbye!